And now, from Candlestick Point in San Francisco, California, it's the Stick 49er Podcast Show with your hosts, Lucas McLaughlin and Lucas Ortiz. This is a Lucas and Lucas production. This podcast is brought to you in part by Supertenna. Get yours today. This is an unofficial 49ers podcast and is in no way directly affiliated with the San Francisco 49ers team nor the National Football League. What's up, Niner fans? This is Lucas McLaughlin coming from my studio here in San Francisco. Lucas Ortiz joins me now. Lucas, how you doing, man?
Fantastic, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, especially after a great victory over the Giants, 36-9. Pretty definitive.
Yeah.
I know that the Giants aren't the greatest, but man, when you're talking about the third stringers who are playing like they're seasoned veterans, I mean, the Niners are running on all cylinders, and it doesn't even matter who, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. We came in down our starting quarterback, down our two starting running backs, backup cornerbacks, backup tight end. I mean, it was just insane how many second and third stringers were in there for us, and we're still able to dismantle the Giants and basically make that game unwatchable in the fourth quarter. I mean, we just put it to them, and I'm just really, really, really excited for the depth and the stable of animals that we have in our team. So I'm really looking forward to the starters getting back to the team and on to the next week.
Definitely. And, you know, this week, obviously, it's a primetime game against the Eagles at home, which is nice.
Yeah.
The Eagles are 0-2-1, which, God, I hate that. Ties, I just wish they didn't exist in the NFL, but they tied Cincinnati. So it feels like a loss when you tie in the NFL. But, you know, Philly is only one win away from being in first place in the NFC East, which is just a crappy division right now. There's only 2 total wins in the whole entire NFC East.
Right.
So if any team's going to figure it out, potentially could win that division. You know, they're all pretty bad.
Yeah, and I just wanted to chime in on the whole tie thing. This year, they changed the rule to make overtime only 10 minutes. So you're going to probably see some more ties when it's all said and done. I think the 5 less minutes in overtime is really going to affect a lot of games. And you saw it happen with the Eagles game.
Oh, that's right.
They lined up for a game-winning field goal. There was a penalty.
Yeah.
I think the coach decided just to punt it away and take the tie. So, yeah, I hate that rule, man. Get rid of it.
It's kind of like watching baseball games and going into extra innings and having a guy on second base. I mean, what the hell, right?
Yeah, can't have that. That's not baseball.
So let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about some injuries right now.
Sure.
Let's do some injury updates. So did you hear anything about D Ford? Because I heard some retirement rumors, which those are definitely just rumors at this point. But he's definitely having kind of the same neck spasms, back issues, correct?
Yeah, so he had a lower back injury a couple years back that set him back a couple games. Now I'm hearing it's more of a neck upper back injury, and they're talking about putting him on IR, but they still have not as of today, which is a Wednesday. So possibly we're not going to see him for at least another 4 weeks if they do that, or he could even, not play another game this year and possibly retire. We can survive without him. I think we're a much better team if he's playing for us. Obviously, like, he gives us that dimension on the outside, the speed rush. He really helps out all the other pass rushers on the team by the amount of pressure that he puts on the outside.
Yeah.
But if he can't play the rest of the year, it's next man up. We're going to have to rely more on guys like Deion Jordan came in and had a sack and had a fumble recovery.
Yeah, he was great actually for first game with the Niners.
Yeah. He contributed. Kerry Hyder had another solid game. He was rushing the passer well and getting back there and putting pressure on Daniel Jones. So we have guys that can fill that role that D Ford was giving us last year. I would definitely love to have him back on our team doing his thing, even if it's just 30% of the snaps. We could really use his help, but he needs to get healthy. He needs to stop being so fragile. I mean, that guy is just constantly getting hurt. And
yeah, it's really too bad, right? Because they play so much better when he's in there.
Absolutely.
At least last year.
Absolutely. Who else is hurt?
We've also got Jimmy G's still dealing with the high ankle sprain. He's probably going to be sitting this one out. I mean, Mullins looks so darn good, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that he's probably going to take one more week off.
I think a precautionary,
Along with Mostert. My goodness, man, we have so much depth at running back. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, so go back to Jimmy. I think we probably will start Mullins again. He looked so good. He was very sharp, especially in the second half, that I think we can give Jimmy another week off, let that ankle fully heal, and, possibly get him back against the Dolphins. Yeah. So I'm okay with Mullen starting another week. There's not going to be a quarterback controversy.
Me too, man. He looks solid.
Right. And it looks like Mostert is probably going to be back to practice this week, starting the game like he did the first couple. So him and Jeff Wilson with Hasty is going to be more than enough. Okay. I think we have a really, really good running back room, and Mostert is, in my estimation, the best, of course, but you're not really losing a lot with Jeff Wilson. I mean, he had a huge game receiving, running the ball, scored a couple touchdowns. So however it unfolds, I think we're going to be pretty solid in the running back game.
So we'll see if Kittle and Mostert practice today, but most likely we've got enough depth, especially facing the Eagles at home. We probably should sit them. You don't want to bring someone back too early and then jeopardize further injury, like what happened with Jordan Reed.
Correct. Yeah. So it looks like Jordan's going to be gone for at least 4 weeks. They put him on the IR. Signed an old name from previous years. Daniel Helm was signed as a tight end to fill his vacant spot on the roster. So he knows the system. He was on another team's practice squad, and we were able to get him in here, already knowing Shanahan's system and offense. So he's going to hopefully, give us something in the tight end aspect of the team, and we'll see. Also, don't forget, Deebo Samuels is supposed to come back.
Nice.
Pretty soon. He's going to.
I was just going to ask you about him.
He's rumored to be practicing today, my friend. So I want to see what Deebo has, and exciting seeing those guys on Sunday if Deebo can make it back.
Yeah, I mean, Ayuk looks like Deebo on some of those plays that we run with Samuels. He did great, man. I mean, but let's get back to the injuries real quick. So Mosley got a concussion, which is a concern, but Verrett stepped in and played great. So do you know anything about the Mosley situation?
So the only thing I know is he's in the concussion protocol. Usually if all goes well, they usually tend to get cleared around Thursday, Friday. And if he can practice at least one day this week, I think there's a good chance that he plays on Sunday night.
Oh, geez. Uh-oh, you know what that sound is, Lucas?
He's back. Pat's picks are back.
Pat Summerall.
Welcome back to the show, Pat.
And now, from the bar in the big sky, yours truly here, Pat Summerall. I'm here to give you predictions every week here on the Lucas and Lucas, The Stick podcast. Pour us a couple of brews, Lloyd. Put those on R2's tab. Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Pat's Picks. Coming at you live, well, depending on how you look at it, from the Kingdom Come Bar and Grill here in beautiful downtown Heavenly City. The bar is a bit crowded today, and R2-D2 just got us a pool table. So we'll be playing a game of 8-ball during this episode. Rack 'em up, R2. Well, I was 2 out of 3 last week. The Niners won definitively, with mostly backups. The Raiders lost, just like I said they would, and KC beat the Ravens, unfortunately. That pick was wishful thinking on my part. KC is pretty good. Oh, well, I'd have to agree, R2. They did cheat against the 49ers last year in the Super Bowl. I digress. For my first Pat's pick this week, the 49ers are at home for a Sunday night primetime matchup against the terrible Philadelphia Eagles. Look for the Niners to continue their dominance. They showed a lot of depth last week. The Eagles have turned the ball over more than any other team in the NFL. Look for the Niners to destroy them at home. The final score, 49ers 42, Eagles 14. R2-D2 with a beautiful shot in the corner pocket. And for my second Pats pick this week, the Cleveland Browns are going to go to Dallas. The Browns have looked solid the last 2 weeks ever since they were destroyed by the Ravens in week 1. Look for a good game, but Dallas gets the win at home. The final score on that one, the Cleveland Browns 28, the Dallas Cowboys 35. And lastly, my upset pick of the week, Seattle has been great so far. However, look for a down-to-the-wire loss this week against the Dolphins. The Dolphins are going to find a way to beat the Hawks at home. Final score, Seahawks 30, Miami 31. It's going to be close, folks. Yeah, I know you won, R2. That wraps up another episode of Pat's Picks. Thank you very much for joining me. Take it away, Lucas and Lucas. Thank you very much. Come on, R2, buy me another beer.
I don't know, man. It sounds a lot. It sounds a
Wow.
lot like your voice, Lucas. I don't know. Is it really?
No.
Is that really Pat?
Dude, I'm here talking with you, Lucas. How is that even possible? That was Pat Summerall, and he's some kind of divine intervention. He's on our show. I mean, you can't accept
I
that?
guess I'm going to have to. Man, I would love to be at that pool table, crushing beers with Pat Summerall and R2D2.
You know, I was just thinking, I watched the debate last night, or I don't know what you call that, what we watched, but I like how you and we take turns talking.
Yeah, it's never a good conversation or debate when people are talking over each other.
So my favorite stats that I noticed that I just blew my mind is that they did not punt the entire game. And I don't know if you realize that. So 9 drives, then they had the 1 missed field goal, but they scored on virtually every drive. And that has not happened. I looked it up since 1993, week 16, that they actually did not.
Yeah, it's very rare. And I hadn't realized it either until somebody brought it up. I think during the game or after the game. That haven't happened since the Steve Young years of the 49ers, which is, it's crazy. I mean, we had some pretty good teams since then. And the fact that we were able to keep the ball rolling, get a lot of third down conversions, put ourselves in scoring position almost every single drive is pretty amazing. I mean, and it's a good thing we didn't have too many punts because we had some long snapping issues. I don't know what was going on with Kyle Nelson, but he had the yips, man. It was cringeworthy, like watching that guy snap, and he was just livid on the sideline. Like if he had a long snap to the punter, I think there would have been some big plays on the Giants special teams end, and that game could have completely, gone bad for the 49ers if there were some special team turnovers that would happen as a result of his bad snaps.
Which is a great segue to our next little segment here called Down in the Trenches with Lucas Ortiz. So there were some issues. I mean, it's tough to find issues in a game where you're a 36-9 route, but let's break it down. So Ben Garland had
a really nice game. I'm really impressed by how much he has improved since last year. He was kind of thrown into the lineup after our starting center Richburg got hurt. And, he played in the Super Bowl, and a lot of people said, like, he got kind of overwhelmed by the Chiefs' defensive line, mainly Chris Jones. But he's looked really good since he got into the starting lineup this year. And I thought he looked very athletic for an offensive lineman. He was getting out on, like, screen passes and the reverses and whatnot, and just really showing off his athleticism. He got a nice pancake block on a linebacker. I think he put Blake Martinez on his ass. Blake Martinez also got pancaked by, I think it was Kyle Juszczyk on a really nice touchdown play. So, but going back to Garland, like, he looked really good. I was very impressed by his improvement.
Oh yeah,
and,
yeah, he did.
On the flip side, Mike McGlinchey, although he's a good run blocker, has really struggled in the pass blocking game.
McGlinchey is a veteran. He's a veteran. He should be one of our best. Is it a confidence issue? Is there a hidden injury? Who knows?
It could be an injury. It could be just he's not as mobile as he was. I mean, he was never a mobile guy to begin with, but he looks a lot stiffer out there, and he's just really struggling to handle fast speed rushers on the outside or guys that have really good polished pass rush moves. He's not as solid in the pass blocking game as he is in run blocking. Get him out in open space, as we saw on Sunday. Get him out in open space, and he's a really good, powerful run blocker. He's really good at getting out and knocking defensive backs and linebackers.
Let's hope he reinvents himself.
Right. He needs to get better.
We need him. We need him to step up and be him, because Mike McGlinchey is a veteran, and he needs to show that. Now let's talk a little bit about Trent Williams. What's your take on Trent?
Trent was solid. He did have a penalty in the game, which
oh, that's true.
Could have not have been thrown. I think it was kind of a questionable call, but overall, really good. He got some pancakes. He gave a lot of time to the quarterback, which was, when you're protecting the blind side of the quarterback, the most important thing is to know that the pass rush isn't going to blindside you. And Trent Williams just gives that safety net for Nick Mullins or whoever's back there quarterbacking our team. I thought he did a really good job. I give him probably like an A, not an A+, nice, because of the penalty. And he was solid. Lakin was really good. Lakin was good.
That's the next guy I was going to ask you about. And Kilgore, right?
Yeah. So in the beginning of the game, it seemed like the defensive line of the Giants was kind of having their way and getting in the backfield and really disrupting a lot of the up the middle power plays that we were trying to run. And so there was, no gain or -1, -2 yard run plays. But over time, they started to enforce their will, and you could really see the Giants' defensive line start to get tired, especially in the late third to fourth quarter. They had to play in so many snaps that we just wore them out. They got tired, and we started just really opening holes and getting the running game going in that second half of the ball game.
And that brings us to the next Ortiz Overachievers, which is going to be our new segment here on the Stick Podcast. So who'd you like out there? Who was the overachiever this week, Lucas?
So the overachiever this week has to be Jeff Wilson Jr. I mean, This guy was an undrafted free agent. He was probably the fourth running back in the depth chart. And he came in looking like, he could easily have been a top running back on any team's roster. I mean, the guy was just fluid in the run game. Like, he wasn't getting a lot of blocking in the beginning, but as the game wore on, he just, seemed to be getting better and better. He was the pass target a couple times and had a nice couple jukes, got around a couple defenders, really had some nice yards after the catch, which is, one of the things our team is really good at. He had a hell of a game. If you're a fantasy guy and he was on your roster, you had a really, really, really good game. So Jeff Wilson Jr., you're my overachiever for this week.
Yeah, he looks solid for sure. It's nice that we have that kind of depth. I mean, when guys go down, this guy could easily be the starter.
Yeah, I would take him over a lot of first string running back. We gotta make sure that guy stays on our team. Like, I really see him and Mostert being like a 1-2 combination on our team and being the two best running backs in the league.
Definitely. So back to Ayuk. I mean, this kid is going to be good. And I think when they get him in there with Samuels, I mean, it's going to be tough to know who to cover when you're on defense. I hope that happens this week. But if not, how do you see us faring against the Eagles at home, Lucas?
Well, first, I want to say about Brandon that he had a breakout game. I mean, he was crazy athletic out there. He didn't really get a lot of he got a couple touches in the first half on some end rounds. But it looked like Kyle really wanted to force the ball to him in the second half, and he made plays. He looked a lot sharper. I think Kyle may have had a talk with him at halftime, and he took to heart. Like, he really took the feedback well and just looked crisp, sharp on a lot of his route running. They got it to him on that nice end around play for the touchdown, the 19-yard touchdown play. I was really impressed with Brandon Ayuk, and I think him and, like I said earlier, him and Debo together, that's going to be scary.
When I think about it overall, it'll be interesting to see the Niners play some really good teams later in the schedule, because hopefully we'll have some guys back and healthy and show – because, it kind of reminds me of the Rocky III when Mick told Rocky that, there was some setup fights. I mean, that's what it's like when you play the Giants right now. But it's not to take away from the fact that the Niners did play a solid football game in every aspect on both sides of the ball. Oh, and you were saying that a lot of this could be because, the camaraderie of bonding they stayed over on the East Coast for a little while. We want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so normally the 49ers, when they have two back-to-back games on the East Coast, instead of traveling all the way back to California, they tend to stay at, like a college. I think last year they stayed at one of the Youngstown University and the IMG Academy in Florida when they had the two back-to-back games on the East Coast. This year they stayed at the Greenbrier Golf Resort in West Virginia. And I think it was was a good bond building, kind of an extension of training camp. Since training camp was kind of weird this year in the fact that, COVID-19 kind of affected how teams typically do training camp. It was great to have them isolated. They were able to bond a little bit more and have more of that training camp style practice that they're accustomed to having. And I think it showed. I think they played really well as far as the continuity of the team, the guys that came back last year, and the new guys, the guys like Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk. They meshed really well. Even Jordan Reed had a nice game going until he got hurt.
Yeah. Hopefully he'll bounce back. I think they're putting him on short-term IR.
Yeah, so I think it's just incorporating those new guys into the team was helped by being at a resort like the Greenbrier. And
definitely good for team building.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not having to do all that traveling and just chill and bond with your teammates is definitely what you need to build a solid team, and we've got one. So let's look forward to this week. And what do you predict for a score against the Eagles Sunday night?
So the Eagles are coming in limping. I believe they're 0-2-1, and their quarterback has struggled so far. In fact, a lot of people are calling for Jalen Hurts, their rookie backup quarterback, to start this game. Wow. So I don't know what's going to go on, man. I mean, Carson Wentz could easily start this game, and Jalen Hurts finishes it. So I'm expecting the 49ers to win by a margin of 10. Let's say 28-18 49ers, with Carson Wentz getting benched somewhere in the middle of the game and Jalen Hurts having to finish it out.
There's some expectations right now that aren't there, and that is that a team could step in and think this might be easy because the Niners are hurt, but that's not the case, obviously, and we proved that this week. I'm going to go 28-7 Niners, and definitive Eagles only scoring in garbage time. And I'm also going to look for at least 3 turnovers, maybe 2 interceptions and a fumble, and the Niners are going to prevail.
I like it. Oh, and I just wanted to mention a little side note. I forgot to mention this earlier. Fred Warner is having a hell of a season this year.
Unbelievable.
He's in the discussion for defensive MVP. He's all over the place. He's so much smarter than he was even last year, and definitely more so than his rookie year. But he's anticipating plays. That play against the Giants, where he read the route, knew it before it was thrown, and undercut it and intercepted. That's not a play he probably even made last year. He's in the film room. Yeah. He's studying. He knows these teams in and out.
He is a born leader on the field for that.
Yeah, I just had to throw that in.
Vocal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Fred Warner, keep going, my friend. Keep having a season.
Yep. Well, let's hope that we stay injury-free and get a nice victory, and then we'll have another discussion very soon.
Sounds good, brother.
All right, man. Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Thank you for joining us on the Stick Podcast. This is Lucas and Lucas signing off. Take care, man.
Take care, brother.